Dandadan is perhaps the most popular new anime this year, and from the first episode, it's very apparent as to why that is. From the incredible animation by Science Saru to its wacky and original story, Dandadan is going to be talked about for a long time. However, shows like this are often overhyped. It's not. But let's get into its vibe and general storytelling to see if it's worth watching for you. Dandadan is weird. It's really freaking weird. The initial feeling I got was that it was a mix of Chainsaw Man and Mob Psycho. If you love those shows, you'll probably enjoy Dandadan. It has the chaotic wackiness of Mob with the grounded, messy vibe of Chainsaw Man. This is apparent with the colorful spirit battles, the vulgar characters, the visual style, and the uncomfortable sexual aspects. Dandadan is about the friendship of two high school students who are thrown into bizarre circumstances after learning both aliens and ghosts are real. I don't think I can say any more than that without spoiling it. Beyond this initial premise, it goes off the rails. The plot is super fast-paced. Every episode flies by and is extremely entertaining. It has a cinematic quality to its storytelling, with the way the plot unfolds and carries you along for the ride. The downside of this is that there isn't a ton of exploration on world building or in-detail explanation of the power system, but it doesn't necessarily have to have those things because it's not trying to be that kind of show. As for the characters, they are really good, but the relationships between them is what really shines. They are written confidently and authentically, and no one feels like an archetype. In this way, it feels a lot like Chainsaw Man. Characters are crass and honest, but very unique with the kind of problems and ideas they have. Initially, there aren't many important characters, but as new ones are introduced, they add a fresh dynamic to the story, which keeps it fresh. Now, another major aspect to this story is its content. The violence isn't that brutal or bloody compared to many other anime, but the sexual content is worth warning about for those sensitive to it. There isn't any nudity, but apart from that, there's threats of sexual violence, and the plot revolves around perverted ghosts and genitals. This is where it feels the most like Chainsaw Man. However, it has a much lighter vibe. The sexual content is portrayed more often as a threat like death than really exploring the ramifications of it, and it's definitely not fan service. It doesn't give that vibe at all. Finally, the animation is incredible. This is always the least important aspect of an anime to me, but this show is somewhat of an exception because of how good it is. The fights are flashy and awesome, and even the mundane moments have a ton of effort put into them. It has a bit of a weird art style, but I think it matches perfectly with the vibe and doesn't go too far into weirdness, visually at least. And this is the aspect that seemed the most like Mob Psycho. Overall, Dandadan is really great. There's not a lot of depth initially, but I assume there'll be more to it later as the friendship between the main characters grows. But even without that, the funny, edgy vibe with great storytelling makes it so enjoyable to watch. Unless the sexual content and weirdness is too much for you, it is absolutely worth watching, at least for the first episode to see if you like its vibe. If you want something that's much less weird, check out this review of Trillion Game here on the end screen. That's all for me. Jamio.